Welcome to the Your Leadership Legacy podcast. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause, and I'm so excited to bring you this next podcast dedicated to you high performers out there who want to reinvent yourself, reinvent your business, maybe your career, all of it. This podcast is all about being dedicated to transformation and being the best possible leader of yourself and others that you can be in order to create a legacy that lives on. Welcome to Your Leadership Legacy. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause. I am the founder and CEO of True You Teams. And here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to Your Leadership Legacy. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause, and I have a dear friend, a powerful leader, an amazing human on the show today, Karen Seltz. Hi Karen, how are you?
Hi, Tina. I'm great. I'm still laughing about what we were talking about before we hit record.
I know. I learned a most important lesson today that I really feel like we should share with all of the listeners, but I can have lipstick on Zoom. Like, I was like, oh, I should put some lipstick on before we start. And Karen's like, well, you could just use the filter. And so this is filtered lipstick.
Isn't that amazing? It looks so good. Mine isn't working anymore, and I'm very bummed about that. So if anybody has any pointers on how to get it to work again, I would love to hear them.
Yes. And I said to Karen, like, these are important leadership things, like being able to, know this and understand this. So anyway, Karen, I've been wanting to have you on the show for a long time because we know each other from way back. Love you to death. I think you're an amazing human and you are creating so many awesome things in the world. And so I was like, we get to have you on to talk about all of that. So I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about Karen Seltz.
Thank you. Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur and a coach for, 7, 8 years now, and I've done all kinds of coaching. Right now, what I am most passionate about is, I call it sacred purpose embodiment. And what I mean by that is we all have a calling. We all know we're meant for something. And if we go to a lecture or a class, we learn all the things, and then now we know them. Now we have more things to beat ourselves up over if we don't do them. So right? I recently did this post, like, I think that's the biggest trick of the ego is ahas, like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Now I know this about myself. And then, a couple days later, you're doing the thing again. You're like,
same thing.
I'm such a piece of crap. I know better. So
embodiment.
Exactly. It's that embodiment piece. But here's the thing. We just knowing better is not enough. We all have these unconscious hidden blocks or set points. And I've been doing this powerful work. It's called rapid resolution therapy, where I speak to the subconscious mind, and people don't even have to know what's holding them back. You don't need the aha to have the release. It's a more of a conscious ego thing that wants that aha. So I talk to the subconscious mind, and we get post or past traumatic events or difficult events, we get them processed and put into long-term storage where you're not tripping over them anymore. And this creates a blank slate. And then I help them rewire their brains for new habits and behaviors. So things that you could never do before, but that are necessary for you to step into your power, into what you're here for. We create new hardware in the brain. And then comes the embodiment piece. And this is where we do like the leadership-y stuff, where we're stretching outside of our comfort zones and practicing these new behaviors until they become natural and easy, and you do them on autopilot.
Right. Which is the embodiment piece, right? And I mean, we talk so much about that. Go a little bit deeper in the embodiment. Why is it so important when we learn a new skill, when we learn something new, to actually move into embodiment?
Well, there are several reasons. Number one, like if you ever listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza, he will say that nerve cells that fire together wire together, which means when you are doing a certain thing in a certain way, those cells, those nerve cells in your brain will actually wire together. If you don't practice those new skills and ways of beings, those synapses will prune apart within days or weeks. So it's very important to practice. Another thing, I know I'm going to get scientific, but it's good for you to know this. If you look at the way the subconscious mind works, anything that you've been avoiding, it's reading as dangerous and potentially fatal. Otherwise, why else would you have avoided it for so long? So it's going to throw all these logic and reasons at you to avoid it. Like, oh, do this instead. Or if you do that, people are going to reject you. They're going to be
Give an
talking.
example. Give an
So,
example, like public speaking, or you know
yep,
what I mean?
that's a fabulous example. So if you have been afraid to go live, press the live button or post a reel, and you're committed to increasing your visibility and you go to press it, all of a sudden you're going to think, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to call the doctor. I need to make that appointment. Oh my gosh, I left a load of laundry in the washer. It's going to get stinky. I bet. So you're going to think of all these other things that you have to do urgently right now, this moment.
Change that light
So
bulb now.
so that you will forget, so that you will stay safe. And safe is anything that you have done before. So anything you haven't done before or anything you've avoided, the subconscious mind reads as unsafe and potentially fatal. Like if it could kill you, of course you're not going to do it. And the subconscious mind only wants you to stay safe. That's it.
Right.
It doesn't care about your thrival. I know it's not a word.
Yeah, that's in our own head. We create that on our own, right? Talk about the sacred piece of that. Where does the sacred piece of that purpose and embodiment come in?
Well, personally, I believe that we are all very spiritual and we all have a higher calling and we have a unique purpose that only we can fulfill. Like we are all part of the whole. And the mere fact that you exist on this planet means that all that is could not be all that is without you. And you have a unique role to play. And many of us, me included, run from it. We run from it because it's so big sometimes and so daunting. And many of us will think, like, who am I? Who am I to want that? Who am I to think I could do that? Who am I to think I'm better than anybody else at this particular thing? All those excuses, again, all those logical reasons why we can't or why we shouldn't. And then the how piece, like, how am I going to do that? And I say, like, the how is none of your business. That's up to the divine.
So that's sacred, like the sacredness of it is because we're coming inside, right? Like, is that kind of, that's how it's coming to me, is like, it's sacred because it's really working through all that stuff that's in your heart and in your cells and in your body that keeps you safe, like you were talking about.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And for me, like, I teach people how to connect to God, source, the divine, their highest self, which is God, and to really listen to that voice of love. And one thing that hit me recently was anytime you hear a voice that's wanting to protect you, that is not your highest self. That's not God. That's ego. Yes. God is expansive. Okay. God is love. And you don't need to be protected from anything. You are all powerful.
Yeah. Oh, I want you to say that again, right? Because that's so powerful. It's so powerful.
So anytime you hear a voice that wants to protect you, that's coming from fear. It's a fear-based thought that you need to be protected from anything because you are powerful beyond measure. And you are called for more. And when you step into that, even though it's scary, you're exercising that courage muscle. And the more you exercise it, the better you feel about yourself, the more confident you become, the more bold, the more on purpose. And then you're filled with energy too and passion. Right, man. You're like, okay, what's next?
Yeah. So I've known you for a long time. Talk about your story and how you got to this point, because I know that there was a time in your life where that led you to where you are today. So give us a little bit of that story and how you ended up where you're at today.
Yeah. So when I met you, and before I met you, I was active in addiction. And talk about like being filled with self-hatred. I could not stand the choices I was making. And I made it all about me. Like I thought I was unworthy and I was unlovable because of the things I was doing. And I had several things happen. I went to a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat, and during one of the walking meditations, I had this mystical experience where I saw my entire life flash before my eyes. Like people talk about like a near-death experience, but I was wide awake. My eyes were open. I was walking. And I saw all these versions of me that had made all these choices that I had been judging as wrong and bad and unlovable and unworthy and disgusting. And I'm like, oh, like everything made sense in an instant.
Ding, ding,
And
ding. Right.
I know, and then my heart just went, it just exploded. And I fell in love with every single version of me, the little girl, the teenager, the woman that had made all these choices that I had been judging. And they all made sense because they had brought me to that moment. So that was one really pivotal moment for me. Another one was when I had my own rapid resolution therapy session. And I don't know what the heck happened. This stuff is magic. It's like it's nothing I've ever experienced. But at that point, I had been sober for 3 years and I was still going and introducing myself as an addict. And so I did this session and I went back to a meeting. I'm like, hi, I'm Karen. And I just stopped. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, it's gone. Like, I'm not an addict and I'll never say that again.
Awesome.
It's gone. And then it took, practicing all this stuff. And through that rapid resolution therapy, I released my fear of making cold calls. And I used to be terrified to pick up the phone. And then it hit me like, why? That makes no sense. Like, what can people do to me over the phone? Well, it occurred to me that I grew up in a chaotic environment and I never knew when I was going to get hit. So I was always like, I would say something and watch people's faces. Okay, am I safe if I say this? Nope, I better go over here. I was like bobbing and weaving and
so interesting.
Trying to stay safe. But on the phone, I couldn't see people's faces. So I was terrified that somebody was going to physically harm me. Now that
over the phone.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And I'm like, like there's nothing anybody can do to me over the phone. And the same with the internet, right? Like if I post a video, what can someone do to me? Like physically, they can't harm me. I've been through so much worse.
Bring it on, right? Yeah. But I love how you talk about practice, because it takes practice to like rewire the brain, retrain your brain to like, show up in different ways. And I want to go back to that moment when you were like, oh my God, I love myself. Not only do I love myself, but I love every version of who I've ever been. Because I think that that's a massive moment. And I know in a lot of the coaching and training that I do, when we whittle down and really get down to the very bottom, like, right, the root, it's because people don't love themselves. They don't, like, I don't know how to love myself. I don't know what that means. And so I want you to go a little bit deeper in that moment. Like, what caused you to realize, oh my God, I love all the versions of me? Did you release? Like, what was that process like to be able to do that? Because I think people are like, I don't even know what it means to love myself.
Yeah, that's not a process. I don't think I can explain how to duplicate that one. What happened for me was 100% mystical. I was surrounded by 1,000 people, seriously, 1,000 people doing the exact same meditation. We're all raising our frequency. We're all connecting to source in a very particular way. But for me, what happened was I realized that every single choice that I had made up until that point led me to become the woman that I was in that moment. So personally, like especially through our RT, we offer this perspective, rapid resolution therapy, that if we could have made any decisions any differently, we would have. And so I'll say to you, Tina, if I were identical to you, and I'm not talking about similar, if I were identical to you, cell for cell, I had your exact same chemistry, your exact same upbringing, moment by moment, every single experience was the same. Could I have done anything differently than you? Could I have chosen a different outfit than you this morning?
Absolutely.
No. If I were exactly you, I would have
had. Oh, if you were, I'm sorry. I did not get the assignment.
Oh, okay. So if I were you, cell for cell, experience.
Then yes, you would pick the same outfit because we're identical. I'm with you now.
Would I have chosen the same husband?
Yes.
Yes. there's nothing I could have done differently than you. And so you are you. Therefore, is there anything you could have done differently than you at any point in your life?
Yeah. It kind of goes back to like we're doing the best we can in the moment.
Well, and so much of what we do is unconscious. 95% is based on programming. So you could not have made any single choice in the past any differently than you did. You couldn't have. Therefore, if you couldn't have, could there be a should?
Yeah. And why are you hanging on to it?
Well, I know why. The why is, it's science. Like you couldn't not hang on to it. I mean, it is in there. Like we get data glitches in our subconscious minds, just like a computer does. And we cannot release those on our own. We get to do some work. And that's why I love what I do, because it is super fast. Yesterday, I did a session, my first session with a child, and something he's 11 years old. For the last 7 years, every time it gets hot, he gets nauseous in the car, nauseous, won't go out and play with his friends in the summer, nauseous, sick. In less than 45 minutes, he was done with it. He went for a ride. We live in Phoenix, it's over 100 degrees. He went for a ride with his mom in the car, 100% fine. Went out and played with his friend for an hour and a half in 100-degree weather, 100% fine. Kids are really easy because they don't hold on to things. But adults too, like I had a session with a woman, I had 2 sessions, and she said, these 2 sessions, I got more done than years and years of therapy and coaching. And it doesn't have to take long, and it doesn't have to be painful. It's just how we're conditioned to think, oh, I got to go into the pain and relive it. No, that's like reinforcing those connections that you don't want. Like I make it fun. Like, I mean, I'm talking about like serious topics, and it doesn't have to be hard or painful.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when you talk about your leadership legacy, name of the podcast, I mean, it seems kind of weird to ask you what your legacy is because you're doing such powerful work. But like when you think about your intentional legacy, and after Karen is no longer gracing us with your presence, what's the legacy?
The legacy that I am leaving is teaching people how to get to that place of freedom and complete self-acceptance and love, knowing that they couldn't have done it any other way. It's absolutely 100% impossible. It's impossible that you could have done anything differently up until now. And that freedom to love every single part of yourself, especially the parts you've been judging as undesirable, unlovable, unwanted. And knowing that we're all holistic beings, meaning we all have every single characteristic within us. So when you reject one part, you're left with a hole. And that hole is what we all try to fill with something outside of us. Drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping, food, exercise, work. We will try to fill it. And when we bring those pieces back that we've rejected, we will find our wholeness. And we will know we don't need anything outside of us to complete us because we're already whole.
And what's on the other side of that? So give us like what happens then on the other side of that?
Oh, that's such a great question. So on the other side of that, you're free to just show up and be your silly ass self. Like you can be whoever. Like it doesn't freaking matter what anybody thinks, because like really, who cares? If you know that you love yourself no matter what, and you know that God loves you no matter what, who cares what anyone else thinks? So, I mean, if you watch me, you see like I say some ridiculous things and I think they're hilarious. And I'm not saying them to be liked. I'm saying them because they delight me to say. Like I think they're fun and I'm going to share them. So I just share my delight with everyone.
Yeah, which is amazing. That makes you who you are. It makes Karen. I mean, ever since the day that I've known you, my experience with you has been authentic and powerful and fun, and just all the things. And so I love that today you're teaching people how to really, really step into that and be their own powerful self. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And to let themselves off the hook, like get rid of the why. Why did I do that? Please eliminate that from your vocabulary and just know that your past doesn't have to dictate your future. Your present can dictate your future when you choose it. So let it go. Let it go and choose powerfully where you're going, and have grace with yourself. When you mess up, not if, but when you mess up, laugh and ask, like, how is this for me? How is this for me?
It's actually how I practice neutrality with other people and with myself, right? Like, oh, there you are again, Tina. Isn't that cute? Let's ship that now, like now. And so just, being able to not take yourself so seriously is definitely next level for sure.
I love it. Sure. Yeah. Seriousness is of the ego again. It's not your spirit.
Yeah, exactly. Where can people find you, Karen?
I'm in all the places. You can find me Instagram at Karen Seltz. I'm everywhere. Karen at KarenSeltz.com if you want to email me.
Yeah. Here's what I love about you, Karen, and your online presence. You are, like, you say it like it is. I mean, I watch you. I watch the videos coming out. You constantly have content coming out, which is beautiful and so supportive to people. But like, you're real, you're raw. You say it like it is. You say what people need to hear, what people get to hear. Let's say it like that. And you're just this huge, bright, shiny, ball of amazingness. And I love you so much. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Tina. I love you back.
Mwah. Mwah. All right, everyone. That is Karen Seltz. Go find her for sure. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time on Your Leadership Legacy. Bye.
My name is Tina Paulus-Krause, and I thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Check out our programs and events at trueyouteams.com. And until next time, make it an amazing day.